Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining for. Thank you for joining today. This is Shekhar Dhungde. I'm the Senior Vice President for NSEIT based out of San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm your host today. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about the cloud landing zones, the importance of cloud landing zones, and the assessment service offering that we talk about, and how it can benefit based on wherever you are on your cloud migration journey. That is what we are going to be talking about today. Uh, Going to the next slide here, few quick rules of engagement for today, housekeeping items. This webinar is going to be recorded. So if you are not wouldn't want to be recorded, this is your time to log off, and we will make sure that you receive a copy of the recording later on. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and you can use the Q&A box on Microsoft Teams interface, or you can also use the raise hand feature, and our moderators will take your questions and we will address it at the end of the webinar. We will try as many questions as possible, and in case we run out of time, we will make sure we follow up with you on any questions that are unaddressed. We will be also having some quick polls during this webinar, so I encourage you to contribute in those polls. Some of them could be interesting, and definitely looking forward to your inputs on the poll that we will be running during this webinar. Going on to the next slide, let me take a quick minute to introduce you our speaker today. Our speaker is Vishal Chandane. Vishal is our Chief Business Officer focused on the cloud services, a subject matter expert with significant experience he has. And I'm very positive that we are going to learn a lot based on Vishal's experience, why the importance of cloud landing zones, and how we try to address various issues on your cloud migration journey by our cloud landing zone assessment service. So that is what we are going to talk about today. I'll take a minute again, just to on the next slide to briefly introduce you about NSEIT. NSEIT is a 100% subsidiary of National Stock Exchange of India, which is one of the largest stock exchanges in the world. We have 20 plus years of domain experience and technology experience in working with capital markets, the nuances of capital markets, and the IT services that are needed there. We expanded ourselves into financial services, insurance industry over last 5 plus years, and have been servicing our customers globally in this space. Uh, while delivering our digital transformation and cloud services, we certainly partner with the hyperscalers like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, including into data platform modernization services like Snowflake and Databricks, and many others. This journey helped us to work with Fortune 500 companies, including even some of the top 50 Fortune 50 companies that we had an opportunity to work with. Going quickly on to overall pillars of our services on the next slide here, we have been focused on 4 core pillars of digital transformation journey, primarily into applications, application modernization, application portfolio rationalization, which is one of the very, very important topics today during the cloud migration journey for most of the customers. We also look at the emerging trends in the data platform modernization, especially when you are moving into the cloud data warehouses and data lakes, strategy and implementation of your data platform modernization. Cloud services, which is where we are going to talk about today, some of the landing zones and importance of landing zones. But we do provide comprehensive managed services when it comes to your cloud infrastructure, managing, maintaining, and provisioning cloud infrastructure. And on top of it, all of this, cybersecurity is a very important element today, especially in the industry domains that we work with. And that is where we have a comprehensive portfolio of information risk management, which is under our cybersecurity pillars. I'll be happy to reach out if any questions around this portfolio of offerings, and we'll follow up later with you. With that, I would like to introduce you to Vishal. But before that, let's take a quick poll and moderator poll, please. Excellent. So we have a poll here, which is about what are the new sports coming to 2028 Olympics being held in Los Angeles. The options are lacrosse, squash, cricket, skateboarding, baseball, softball, flag football. Let's see what kind of responses we are getting here. Okay. I'm seeing 24% are talking about squash, about 19% each, baseball, softball, 16%, 20% flag football, 20% lacrosse, 20% cricket. Okay. There seems to be an interesting trend here. Wonderful. Maybe I think we'll take this poll as done. Most of you seem to have responded. There is varied responses here. But let me give you a quick correct answer. There are actually 5 new sports that are coming into 2028 Olympics, namely lacrosse, squash, cricket, baseball, softball, and flag football. Skateboarding is the only option which is not there. And interestingly, there is 0% who have voted for skateboarding. So it looks like at least on that count, everyone seemed to be correct. Fantastic. So let's move on. Vishal, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Shekhar, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining. So I'm Vishal Chandane. I'm the leader for cloud in NSEIT. So let me try and share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Great. So I'm going to talk about cloud landing zones and the service called as Cloud Landing Zone Assessment Service over the next 20-25 minutes. So before we go and talk about landing zones, and this is the term which we have been hearing from most of the hyperscalers since last couple of years, let's first understand what is cloud landing zone and why we are talking about landing zones since last couple of years. So cloud, which we host it on a specific hyperscaler or a multiple hyperscaler, is just another location of delivering your business critical applications onto the cloud, right? So where you are putting your business critical application on premises, co-located data center, or on any public cloud services like AWS, Azure, Google, or Oracle Cloud, the enterprise application delivery requirement remains the same. Whether in terms of availability, we need to ensure that the applications are highly available. In terms of scalability, and one of the very important reasons why we go and host our business critical applications on the cloud is to get the unlimited scalability. So how do we measure that? How do we manage that? That's one of the aspects. Security baseline and governance is one of the very, very important piece when we are hosting our business critical application. Monitoring and management is super critical. We have to monitor first, and then we will be able to get the manageability, and then we will be able to govern the same. Logging and auditing is very, very important for us, especially from an audit perspective. And then compliances are very, very important when you are putting your business critical applications. So these are the aspects which we need to take care of when you're putting our business critical application workloads onto any public cloud or multiple public clouds. So there has to be some framework which will govern and deliver single pointed solution across all 6 key business requirements. So a couple of years back, one of the hyperscaler had come up with a concept called as landing zones, and this they tried to include some of the features of the requirements of the business critical application to be hosted on public clouds. So that we started terming it as the cloud landing zone as an architecture. So landing zone is just not an architecture, it's just a framework. It's a framework or architecture built for delivering cloud security. Okay, so it includes a lot of reference architectures, could be the best practices, as well as third party cloud security recommendations like CIS benchmark and etc. While hyperscaler there they have their own security components, but end of the day, every hyperscaler security tagline says that security is shared responsibility between customers and hyperscaler. So when you're doing that, we will also have to include some of the third-party security components like the extension firewall, application firewalling, or log management. So the landing zone reference architecture includes some of the third-party component as well. We use this landing zone across applications across multiple banking, financial services industries, as well as various large manufacturing organizations. And today, we also use landing zones deployment with an automated framework so that your deployment can happen at a very, very quick time. So this is typically a requirement why we everybody started talking about landing zones. Landing zone includes various components like IPS, IDS, WAF, CDN, IAMs, backups, SIEM, encryption, and CSPM. And I'm going to cover a little bit on each aspect in next subsequent slides. So what we did is we have been deploying landing zone across hundreds of customers so far. We have done multiple landing zones for AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle Cloud. And then we understood that, typically landing zone architectures can be categorized and under three categories, small, medium, and large deployments. So that it can be deployed easily, we can go and present to customers, and it is easy to consume for a customer. Say, for example, if you are starting with new on to any public cloud, and we have got just couple of applications being hosted onto public cloud, we will have to start with a basic landing zone, and this is how the basic landing zone for a hyperscaler like AWS looks like. So first founding principle of a landing zone is multi-account structure. So you would have seen to start with, we create a multi-account structure. So we create a master account, then we create a transit account so that we can focus all the network and security components into transit account, and then we also configure the account segregation or role segregation in multi-account structure. So, for example, we put all the logs which is required for logging and auditing perspective. We combine all the logs and put into log and archival account, which is important because when you are putting your business critical workloads, auditing is required, you need to integrate with SIEM, then you don't need to give an SIEM or a logs access across all the accounts so that they can pull the logs. What we can do is we can just put all the logs together into one account and then just give one account access to SIEM tool. So that helps you to segregate the roles for the access. Similarly, we give a specific role for shared services like backup server or ARM server or Route 53, which is content delivery network kind of requirement. Then we give an access via shared services account. We give a separate access to for an audit account so that all the audit related components like guard duty or security hub or key management. So those are the aspects can be put into there, and then only specific roles of people who need that activity to be function, they will be given those access itself. Now coming back to the account level where we go and put our workloads, so we segregate between production and non-production. So all the production workloads are combined together in a couple of accounts, and all non-production are combined into separate accounts. We also give you a methodology to connect your setup via a private data center. So direct connect is get configured between your data center and an AWS in this particular case. It's a point-to-point secure connectivity. Again, then be protected via a secure framework like an extension firewall. So that's how we go and build a landing zone for a starter kit, right? It's the customers who have just 10 or 12 applications hosted on public cloud and they want to build a security. This is the framework ready-made, available, customer can consume it. Now, moment customer puts more and more workloads, the requirement become complex. more business critical data hosted on cloud. The network which connects to the public cloud also includes your MPLS network, so multiple locations will come in. Now we will need one more level of complexity or one more level of auditability. And for that, we integrate with SIM solutions like Sumo Logic, and then it gets integrated with logs so that all the logs generated by any component in the cloud gets integrated to Sumo Logic, and you get a single point of view for your SIM log management. Another aspect which we add in that case is you would have seen earlier the private traffic and a public traffic was coming via same security channel. So what we did in this particular architecture is segregated the channel. So private traffic is coming via direct connect, again protected and secured by the firewall and application firewalling. Public traffic is also separate segment and is protected by the firewall and web application firewall. So this is the areas where we give you one more level of advanced security posture management. Then we have now 100 plus applications hosted on public cloud. We have more security to be managed. We have more auditability to be managed. So in that case, since complexity becomes big, there are a couple of more components which you go need to add. First is we will need to manage your encryption management. So either we can include the HashiCorp Vault or Thales for managing the encryption, or bring your own key, or bring your own encryption kind of solution, or we use Prisma CSPM for security posture management so that we get a single framework to manage the platform security. And this is very, very important because today most of the workloads which are hosting on public clouds are cloud native. And to deliver single application, we use 10 to 12 different cloud native services, and then we'll have to manage security posture across all those 10, 12 services. So these are the components which gets added. So what we did is, instead of creating multiple complex landing zone architecture, we categorize it under three standard architecture frameworks so that you can consume it easily, you can deploy it easily, you can manage it easily. So that's how we have been doing it so far, and we have done it for multiples of our customers already. Now it's a time for a quick poll. So if you can bring up the poll, please.
Okay. The poll questions are: in which year was the cloud landing zone introduced? 2018, 2019, or 2020? One more time, I'll repeat the question. In which year was the cloud landing zone introduced? 2018, 2019, and 2020. Okay, I'm getting the responses here. Um, Going a little 50-50. Let's see how the responses are coming in. We'll give 10 more seconds for any additional responses. Okay, Vishal, you want to give the right answer?
Yeah. So the right answer is 2018.
Perfect. Okay, so 50% of the respondents said 2018 and 25% each, which is interesting, said 2019 or 2020. Wonderful. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I guess we have one more poll question. So Shekhar, if you can help on that, that would be great.
Sure. Next poll, please. Okay, which organization introduced the concept of cloud landing zone? Amazon Web Services, AWS, Azure, or GCP, that is Google Cloud Platform. Again, the question is, which organization introduced the concept of cloud landing zone? AWS, Azure, or GCP are your options. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Few more seconds. Okay, we are getting the responses. All right, there seem to be a clear shift here. Okay, Vishal. So 75% of the respondents have stated AWS, 13% Azure, 13% GCP. What's the right answer?
Yeah, the majority wins, so it is AWS.
Wonderful. So AWS is the right answer. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, thank you, Shekhar. Thanks a lot for that. So let's go to get it going. So as we understood, in 2018, AWS actually came up with a concept called as cloud landing zones, and now virtually everyone talks about cloud landing zones. Okay, so why do we actually need to do an assessment for up to 5 years? So landing zone came in 2018. Some of the customers, most of the customers have landing zone deployed some form of the shape. But why do we have to go and analyze the landscape now? It's primarily because the old framework actually got released 5 years back. Security requirements were different, compliances were different, expectations of our customers were different from cloud. Now that everything has more evolved, more mature, we will also need to go and look back our architecture in terms of what was the requirement then and what is the requirement now. Requirement in terms of complexity of application, number of cloud native workloads which you are using, the governance and the regulations which we need to follow, and what is our performance and availability requirements. So these are the aspects which we need to cover when we are actually reviewing our cloud landing zone architecture. And what we do is we help you with an assessment service which actually helps you to uncover all these challenges. I will not say rather challenges, all these new requirements when it comes to the cloud security posture on your public cloud. So, whether on AWS, Azure, or Google, how the landscape look like, we will need to go and look at that. So, there are a couple of our, areas which you go and cover as part of the cloud security assessment goes or cloud landing zone assessment goes. And I'm going to cover each aspect in a detail in a couple of minutes from now. So we start with the cloud platform. So as I introduced earlier, so we have created multiple reference architectures. That's for easy consumption for now. But what we will do is we will look at your existing cloud landing zones. If it is built, if it is not built, we'll look at the current architecture. We will cover various aspects like how your account segregation has been done. So, uh, the first fundamental principle of a cloud landing zone is account segregation, the role segregation, so that we can distribute the authority. We can give just in time, just the right access to a specific user groups. And that is the first fundamental of cloud landing zone. So, we'll analyze that. So, we'll include cloud account or subscription architecture, we'll review that. We also will review your service control or governance structure. So if you're on AWS, we will review the service control policy, we'll review your organization unit structure, the way it is configured, uh, and so as we do for Azure and GCP as well. So we will analyze your network connectivity, whether both point-to-point connectivity, which is direct connect, or express route, uh, or it's an internet connectivity, private network, VPN peering, or a transit gateway if you have deployed that transit gateway. So will review that. We will also review the cloud native services like load balancers, storages, and database as a services. So overall hygiene assessment across all your cloud platform services will be included as part of the scope for platform services. Assessment, we will analyze the architecture, we'll review the internet connectivity, we will make sure we'll review your network security posture, how the traffic is coming, where how it is getting distributed within a specific public cloud, and how we are we connecting cloud to your on-prem or other clouds or other access, whether you're giving a third-party access via API or other means of connectivity. So we'll review that as well. Then we also review what is your security posture from the firewall perspective. So, as I stated earlier, security is a shared responsibility between a hyperscaler and a customer. While hyperscalers will have their own firewalling solutions, but those are not up to the mark when it comes to of the advanced security. So today we will need to protect our workloads from a very, very advanced threat, which includes the bot, which includes ransomware, it includes the intrusion preventions, etc. So we'll need a solution which will help you to achieve better security across multiple public clouds. And today you might have one or two public clouds. So typically what happens is if you use cloud native security devices, uh, then they will be giving only the security posture for that particular public cloud, and then we will have to manage across multiple public clouds or on-prem. So when you're going for a next generation firewalls, could be Palo Alto or Fortinet or Checkpoint, they give you single pane of glass to manage security posture across multiple public cloud and on-premises. So we can leverage that. So as part of our assessment goes, we will cover your existing firewalls, whether using cloud native firewalls or using any third-party security firewalls. We'll review the policy, features, architecture, etc. We will also ensure that how they are configured in terms of high availability, DR, or even scalability. We will redesign the architecture from a security perspective and will present that to you as part of our assessment goes. Then we will also need to cover about application level firewalling. Today, we are putting more and more digital cloud native workloads onto public cloud, and most of the cloud native workloads needs to interact with third-party services. Could be payment gateway, could be messaging platform, could be other applications hosted on the SaaS or PaaS services. So those needs to be communicated with the application hosted on a public cloud. So all this communication happens from application to application. So we need to also make sure that your application firewalling is up to the as per the requirement and it is as per the best practices. So we'll review your current application firewalling requirement as well as the deployment if it is ready, if it is there. So we will configure web application protection, traffic management, any data breaches or vulnerability or data attacks. We'll review what is your requirement, what is the threat against all these things. We will also define the security rules, how it is being configured currently. And then we will include the bot protection or application layer encryption as part of our assessment goals. So we'll review all your WAF policies, architecture, and then we'll redesign the same based upon the industry best practices. Uh, Another area which we'll cover is about cloud security posture management. So there are multiple CSPM tools available like Prisma Cloud for coming from Palo Alto. Typical CSPM tool will scan your cloud platform in a real time about any threat being there in your cloud platform. So for example, you hosted your data onto Azure Blob and an access given to a third party to go and get that particular files. So whether you're giving right access for a third party or an API to go and consume those data, or it is just leaking your data. So those needs to be actually analyzed on a real time so that you can go and prevent that particular threat right there. So we will go and do that particular assessment in terms of a CSPM configuration, whether you have configured CSPM correctly, all the rules, policies, are configured correctly so that the entire landscape or entire real estate hosted on public cloud is covered, it is protected. So that's one aspect which we will go and cover as part of CSPM. Those and the assessment scope will include review CSPM, review the cloud platforms, scan vulnerability, and we generate report, and we recommend what are the activities to be included as part of your CSPM configuration. Log management becomes a very, very important thing, and today by compliance, by various regulations, we will have to make sure that we store the logs and we retain logs for longer times, and logs are required not only for forensics, but it is also required to understand your application behavior. It is very, very important to fine tune your application and application performances. So we will need to make sure that all the components which generating logs in your cloud platform, which could be your cloud with native components or your applications or your infrastructure or all the databases, all the logs needs to be put in together and collected and integrated with this IAM. So we'll review your log management aspect, and then we integrate that with SIM too. So we review your current SIM integration, and we will make sure that all the sufficient logs are provided for SIM to do that particular activity. Encryption and secrets management is very, very important because as you are aware, hyperscalers are highly shared. So the landscape which we are consuming from a hyperscaler like AWS, Azure, or Google, the same infrastructure being used by hundreds and thousands of customers. So when we are putting our business critical data onto cloud, we will need to make sure that that data is encrypted, and that encryption is controlled and managed by you, so that in case of any by mistake or by accident the data gets leaked, it is do not expose your data or your end customer's data. So that's where encryption and secret management plays a very, very important role. So we'll review your current encryption structure, how it has been encrypted, whether the data has been encrypted or not, and data lies across multiple services. It is not necessary that only when you're using infrastructure as a services you control the data. But even if you're using PaaS services, it's your responsibility to control and secure your data. So that's how the security framework goes. We will have to ensure that all the data which you're putting across infrastructure or PaaS services, data is encrypted, is secure, the keys are configured properly, keys are rotated properly, so that's how we will go and assess as part of our assessment scope. We will analyze what is your requirement as per of your security posture or security standard goes, or what the compliance says. If you are following certain compliance, say for example banking or financial services compliance, what is that compliance asked for, and are you following the recommendation as per as best practices recommended by compliance or not? So we will go and recommend those changes to be done in the encryption strategy. That's about encryption. And then one of the very, very important aspect about any data is about backup and archival. While we put the lot of data on the cloud, while all the cloud native service providers have their own backups mechanism, it could be snapshot, it could be backups, etc. So what we will do is we will make sure that your backup or archival strategy is configured correctly or not. Data protection is very, very critical. While, say, for example, if you host an data onto a public cloud or hyperscaler, so today we have got availability zones as a concept. So it replicates the data from between availability zones. But another flip side of this particular challenge data is while at the hardware level it gives you protection. So if one availability zone goes down, your data is still available on another public availability zone, but that do not give you protection against corruption of a data, that you do not give you protection against intentionally or unintentionally deletion of the data. So to protect against that, we will have to make sure that your data protection or data backup strategy is properly designed and configured. So we will have to ensure that the all the data which is very, very important for us gets backed up regularly and stored at a safe distance, so that the primary copy goes bad, it does not affect the other secondary copy. We will also have to ensure that archival is managed properly. Today, a lot of storage different types are available, and every type of storage costs us differently. So we will have to make sure that the long-term data which is to be stored for compliance or audit reasons are stored onto a cheapest available storage, so that overall cost for data and archival is at the bare minimum. And that brings me to a cost section of our assessment. And cost is a very, very important category. So today, most of the customers who have taken journey towards cloud couple of years back, they are facing one of the challenges like the uncontrolled growth of their cloud costs. And especially during pandemic, we saw a very, very big shift towards putting each and every workload on the public cloud. And that's how the cloud consumption have grown. But while we are putting more and more workload onto cloud, while we are reaping all the benefits of availability, performance, scalability from public cloud. But one of the flip side is cost. Cost goes on increasing multifold year after year or quarter after quarter. So what we help you do is before we go into a cost optimization, we'll have to first manage the cost governance, and visibility of the cost is very, very important for us to govern the cost or optimizing the cost. So as part of our assessment, what we will do is we will analyze your cost governance structure. We will analyze your tagging policy, whether you are putting the right tags for your cloud cost or not, so that you get those visibility. We will recommend you to change the tagging policy as part of the assessment goes, and then we will also recommend some of the best practices you can implement for a cost optimization in future. So this particular exercise does not include cost optimization activities, but we assess the setup and we recommend the cost visualization as well, so that in future we can come and do a cost optimization as well. So this is what we do. These are the areas of components which we go and cover as part of assessment framework goes. Now let's look at what exactly we are going to do or how long it's going to take, right? So this particular exercise, based upon the size and shape of your cloud landscape, gets categorized into three areas or three deliverable sections. In first, we come and engage, we do analyze your landscape, we define the broader scope for assessment, and that's a day or two kind of an activity. Then next couple of days, could be 3 to 5 days, we will go and do a detailed assessment of your cloud landscape. And this is we conduct based upon a tool as well as human effort. So we have various best practices of assessment as I stated earlier. And we have various tools which we have built and developed so that we can have a quick glance of your security landscape or cloud security landscape. So we will capture that. And then next couple of days, we will go and review, we analyze your security posture, and then we come back with you with a report in terms of this is your current security posture look like, this is the assessment, and these are the recommendations. And then we can discuss, we'll come and present with you. And then if you want us to go and work on some of the remediation plans, we would be discussing that with you separately and we'd be happy to support you in that aspect as well. So quick 10 to 15 days on effort, and you will have a detailed cloud landing zone assessment from us so that you review your cloud security posture, you make sure that those are up to the mark, and then you are ready to put more and more business critical workloads on public clouds. So they are the components which we go cover. So apart from technology aspects, we cover the data availability, network security, identity, and access management plays a very, very important role because moment we put more and more workloads into cloud, a number of identities will go increase. Say, if I have to just give an example, we just did an assessment for a very, very large financial services organization who works across multiple global countries, and we analyzed their landscape hosted on one public cloud. They had about 130 applications hosted on AWS. And when we looked at how many identities they have created in last couple of years, we were surprised to know that there were about more than 5,000 identities were created. So identity management becomes a very, very important role. Cost governance, compliance management, application security, those are the aspects which we go and cover as part of our assessment goals. So this is what we do as part of the landing zone architecture, which we have been doing, various landing zone assessment components and areas which we go and cover. Now, why NSEIT when it comes for to landing zone assessment to be done for your organization? So NSEIT, we have a very, very good credentials in terms of landing zones, building landing zones. We have deployed more than 100 landing zones across multiple hyperscalers. And with that, we have various credentials to talk about. So we are an advanced consulting partner with AWS with more multiple competencies like Windows storage or migration. We are also one of the very few well architected certified partners. We have similar credentials for a Microsoft also, so where we are solution partners with Azure infrastructure, apps and innovation credentials. And then We are very, very good in terms of infrastructure as a code, and we are one of the chip certified partners for HashiCorp. To an extent that today we have built a capability to deploy all the landing zones, whether it is on AWS or Azure or Google, using a technology from HashiCorp. So traditionally, most of the landing zones were deployed with an effort of 3 to 4 months. With an automation in place, we go and deploy the entire landing zone, including the complex one, in just 7 to 10 days. So that's the depth of understanding which we have been having in terms of our landing zone. And our deployment not only includes the cloud native components, but the third party security components like web application firewalls, next generation firewalls, or log management, or a backup solution as well. This is the areas which we go and having an expertise across the platform, across the tool of services. We have capabilities, all the public clouds, all the databases, whether it is cloud native databases or an enterprise databases. Most of the web services, most of the monitoring platform, we are pretty good in terms of containerization and dockerization. So we help you modernize your application. We help you containerize your application. We're pretty strong when it comes for cloud security, whether it is the extension firewall, application firewall, CDN encryption with Talis or HashiCorp Vault, and then we are pretty strong when it comes your DevOps solutions. So we help you build the entire DevOps pipeline for your workload, which is modernized. We help the shift left kind of security posture management for you along and integrate that along with DevOps so that we can build a DevOps SecOps kind of a structure for you. And then we have skills on operating systems and a private cloud solution like Azure Stack or OpenStack, etc. So we have a very, very depth of an understanding when it comes to cloud technology across various categories, infrastructure, databases, applications, security, as well as DevOps. So I would want to pause here for any questions you have got about the landing zones, assessment, scope, duration, etc. So if there are any questions, I would like to take these questions.
Sure, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vishal, for a very comprehensive overview of importance of landing zones and the assessment offerings that we have and the capabilities we bring to the table. So this is your time for Q&A. I see some of the question answers coming in. Some of the questions that are coming in here. Okay, so Vishal, here's the first question. What is the difference between a landing zone and a well-architected framework? I think that's a good
Okay.
one.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. As landing zone is a concept, is a framework, well architected framework from AWS or CAF, which is Cloud Adoption Framework from Azure. So this is all are the framework. And what's the difference between landing zone and a WAF or a CAF? So typically, well architected framework is involves the application aspect as well. A lot of well-architected frameworks recommendations are included as part of the landing zone itself. But well-architected framework typically is a framework which gets built with a question and answer session with the customer. Say, for example, if you are hosting your um, internet banking applications onto a public cloud, so then we'll have to involve your application teams. We will conduct a set of questions which we will go and ask. We will understand from an application team what is their application requirement, what is their business requirement, and then based upon that, we will go and build the well-architected review. Okay, so it's a review. It's not a framework or design. Even CAF also is a review. So it's a question answer based session which we go and conduct with the customer, and then we build a specific architecture for that particular requirement. Whereas landing zone is the best practices recommendations provided by hyperscaler and then built and optimized by service providers like us. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that was good overview. I know we are a little running out of time, but let us take a couple more questions that are here. I think one of the question is what kind of access is required to do an assessment? So I guess this question is from if I'm a customer and if I would like to sign up for your assessment service, what kind of access that is required?
Yeah, it's actually very critical and important question because you need to know. So primarily, we don't need any write access. We will just need a read access of your cloud setup, and with read access, we will be able to get every assessment done. Okay, we will need just read to your cloud platform, and we will need to ask some questions to your administrators, and that's it. And we will be able to do our job.
Perfect. Okay. Um, and of course, just one segue here is that we carry out this assessment for all types, all platforms, or even if we are in a hybrid environment for Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Um, One more
That's
question
right.
here. Will the landing zone assessment include a CDN assessment?
Yeah, so landing zone assessment, typical landing zone architecture includes the CDN, but since CDN is a SaaS service delivered from outside, we will not be able to analyze and assess the CDN scale, performance, scalability, configuration, etc. What we will do is, as far as the architecture goes, we will evaluate whether the CDN is from an architecture perspective configured correctly or not, or positioned correctly or not. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Maybe we'll take one more. I think you addressed a little bit about it, but will the landing zone assessment include cost optimization? Because that's
Okay. So, see, there are two aspects of cost optimization. Before we get into cost optimization, we will need to visualize the cost. So, we help you in cost visualization best practices as per our assessment goes. However, we do not get into the detailed cost optimization exercises. Probably we have one more service called as FinOps services where we work with you and we help you optimize your cost. Probably that could be a follow-up service which we can do post our assessment. Assessment scope includes best practices to visualize your costs, which is really the first step for you to build a FinOps or build a cost optimization strategy.
thanks, Vishal. I think that is one of the important questions I see from many customers coming in. So maybe we will follow up with a detailed overview of our FinOps services here. Wonderful.
Okay.
So I think we will close with that. Thank you everyone for joining today and taking your time to listen in for this webinar. We will have various other topics covered in upcoming webinars, and we will be publishing that schedule soon. So keep an eye for it. With that, signing off from here today. Thank you very much for joining, and looking forward to see you again soon. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. Bye.